Okay. So, welcome guys. So, as Jackie said, this is Write It Already and Indie Author Society tonight. So, how many people have been to an Indie Author Society meetup before? Just so, show of hands. Okay, so I'm just going to explain what it is real quick because it looks like half the people have never been or don't know what it is. So, the Indie Author Society is an organization for indie authors, and like what Jackie does with this meetup, we put on talks twice a month, and we also have an online community that you guys can join through the website. So if you want to check it out, that's at indieauthorsociety.com. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end. For now, since we are planning for NaNoWriMo, what we're going to do is talk about how Scrivener can help you. So if you've never heard of it before, Scrivener is a content generation tool. So we'll go over that in a little bit. So who am I? My name is Matt Herron. Obviously, I wrote this book called Scrivener Superpowers that did all right. We published it back in January. So I'm not going to go over all of the details of Scrivener. This is not a super deep dive into how the software works. However, if you would like to learn more, I wrote a complete how-to book about the software. So it's called Scrivener Superpowers, and you can check that out. The other half of my life, I write fiction novels and short stories, and I also work with startups and small businesses writing content strategy and website and web copy, helping them with their marketing campaigns and stuff like that. So I spend a lot of time writing, and Scrivener is the tool that I use most of the time, especially when the content is long form. So that's anything that's longer than like a blog post. So you can use it for Nano, you can use it for your doctoral thesis, you can use it to manage your blog. It has a lot of uses, but again, we're going to talk specifically about novels tonight. All right, so what is NaNoWriMo? So we talked about how NaNoWriMo is a challenge where you write a book in 30 days. So what do they qualify as a book? A book is 50,000 words of fiction. How can Scrivener help you win it? Scrivener helps you stay organized. It helps you meet your goals by helping you set targets and telling you when you've met them. And it has a lot of other features that people who write long form often find very useful. So for instance, one big one that comes up all the time is that Microsoft Word is basically like looking at one huge column of text. And it can get a little overwhelming, especially when you're writing 50,000 words. So at 250 words a page, you can see that it gets a little long. So the best part about Scrivener is that it kind of breaks that down. It gives you a binder structure that you can use to see the manuscript at a high level. We'll talk a little bit about what a book looks like. But before I get into it, I know that there's this debate among the writing community, and it always surfaces around NaNoWriMo time, and that is the Plottor versus Pantser debate. Now, those of you who have been writing for a while probably already know what this is, but I'm just going to explain it. So the age-old saying is that there are plotters and pantsers. So there are people who plot their stories, and there are people who write their stories by the seat of their pants. So the famous one, Stephen King, is a pantser. And a famous plotter, anybody know famous plotters? J.K. Rowling. Okay, so both ways work, right? And this debate always comes up. And so when it does come up around this time of year and people are starting to plan their nano novels, and then there's that one guy in the corner going, I'm not going to plan my nano novel, I'm just going to start it from day one. And you think, oh, that's impossible, right? But both people exist. I personally am more of a plotter than I am a pantser. And people go both ways. But I find that it helps to kind of reframe it into this. So architect versus gardener. So this is from George R.R. Martin, who we both know is a gardener whose seasons are very, very, very long. But I think it's helpful because this gets you out of the mindset of thinking that you can't plan for a novel, even if you do write by the seat of your pants. Because there are certain things you can do to get ready, to prep yourself, to understand your characters, to get to know your setting. And whether you're an architect or a gardener, a plotter or a pantser, you can use these techniques no matter which end of the spectrum you fall on. So if you're here and you're one of those people that says, I'm going to start on midnight on October 31st with no idea and write a 50,000 word novel, there's still things that you can get out of this. However, for those of you who find that you like to plot, you like to plan, you like to spend some time with your characters before November 1st hits and the rush is on, there's a lot that Scrivener can do for you too. Okay, so now let's talk about what you need to write a novel. So before we start, who is here writing, or who's going to do NaNoWriMo for the first time? First timers? Okay. Anybody else who's kind of?
I did it last year, but I fell off. So
okay, yeah. Well, at least you know what you're getting into. Okay, who here has written a book before? Published a book before? Okay, a few of you. All right, so what do you need to write a novel? What do you guys need? Like, what are the prerequisites to writing a novel?
Pen and paper.
A pen and paper, right?
Coffee.
Coffee.
An idea.
An idea. That's a good start. Characters. Yes, what else? Conflict. Setting. Theme. That helps. Structure. That's another thing that helps. Now, a lot of the times when writers actually start, they don't know any of these things. However, the longer you write, the more you start to think about what the requirements are for a novel. So the classic outline is character in a setting with a problem who goes through a lot of conflict to resolve it, right? That's very simple story structure. So when you're going into this, whether it's for the first time or for second, third, fourth, I know some of you have done this like a dozen times, you always have to solve those problems. You always have to answer those questions. You can't write a story without a character. You can't write a story without a setting and a problem. So in my mind, those are the things you need to write a novel. So when you're using Scrivener in the run-up to NaNoWriMo to plan your novel, think about those basic elements of story and what you can do to get ahead of the game. So there are 4 areas, and I've divided this up so that we can kind of simplify. 4 main things that Scrivener can do to help you. So the first thing, and I'm a big fan of these, is Scrivener has a built-in character and setting sketch function that you can use to make sketches of your characters. These can be throwaways. You can toss them out afterwards. You can maintain them throughout the process. And you can do the same thing with setting. Now, what I like about Scrivener in particular, and I'll show you how to do this in a little bit, is that you can not only use words to sketch your characters and settings, but also visuals. And the interface is designed in such a way to make both possible. So we'll go over that in a little bit. The other thing is research and practice scenes. So I included practice scenes as research because if you are a gardener, a pantser, you probably don't want to do too much research, but you might want to try your hand at the story, see how it goes, throw those away, right? Practice scenes are really good. Just like short stories are really good to help you explore the universe and really get into your story. So Scrivener makes this easy by giving you a place to keep all the research. And of course, you can use anything to write the practice scenes. All right. Number 3, outlines and storyboards. So I'll show you what I use to outline, how that looks for me in just a minute. Do you guys know what storyboards are? No. Okay. For those I see a lot of you nodding your heads, but for those of you who don't, storyboarding is a form of outlining where you put index cards on a corkboard and arrange them in the order they're going to go in. So each card would represent a scene, and you would put them in order. Let's say a novel has 60 or 70 scenes, so your job is to create 60 index cards and arrange them in the order they're going to go in, beginning at the beginning, end at the end. So Scrivener gives you a way to do this using the corkboard interface. And you can take this, like you can start on paper index cards and transfer it to Scrivener on October 31st so that you can start writing on November 1st. Or you can start straight in Scrivener. You can use the corkboard feature. So that's like a digital corkboard. And the 4th thing is methods and motivation. So NaNoWriMo relies on the write until your fingers fall off approach, which I think is great. It really forces you to write on a deadline to get the words done. But you need to know what your goal is, and so we'll talk about how Scrivener can help you hit 1,667 words a day, which is what you need to write for NaNoWriMo. And it also has a few sticks and carrots to help keep you motivated. So those are the 4 buckets. All right. So now we're going to get into specifics. I'm going to show you some screenshots of projects that I've done in Scrivener, just so you can kind of get a high-level overview, I guess. So the question here is, what does a book look like to you? If you're a reader, a book probably looks like a cover, 1.5 inch thick, a stack of bound pages. If you're a writer, and I imagine you guys are here because you're writers, a book looks like a little bit more than that, right? It's also the structure of the story. It's how it's laid out. And so when I think of what a book looks like to me, like if somebody asked me about the Auriga Project, a sci-fi novel I wrote, or some of the short stories, I would say that it looked like this. So this is a screenshot of the binder interface of the 2 short stories. So you can see here, the manuscript is actually just this part in the middle. So we're not really going to go over front matter, back matter, and how Scrivener can help you compile ebooks and print books. But now that I've used it for some time, I rely on this visual aspect, the binder, to help me imagine story and to help me write story. These are setting and character sketches on the left. Those are ones I wrote myself. Scrivener comes with some defaults that are pretty decent. And those on the right are all of the settings and all of the characters using the images that I found. So again, I'll show you guys how to do that. It's really fun. It's actually kind of like playing on Pinterest a little bit. But it helps me visualize the characters, and I usually start with the visual aspect of it. All right, so this is a novel. Same book. This on the left is the Auriga Project, chapters 1 through 20. They're color-coded by the points of view. You can see female lead, female male, female male. It alternates through the whole story, except down here, that last chapter intersperses the points of view. And then the final chapter is a teaser in a secondary character's point of view. So you can see how which point of view character just by glancing at the manuscript. And when I open this story in Scrivener later, you'll actually be able to see this, and we'll be able to click through it. And you'll see all the mess of my research below it as well. On the right is a corkboard. So this is what I say when I say storyboarding. This is what I mean. So it's a little hard to see from where you guys are sitting in the back. But each 2 columns is an act. So this is a 4-act story. Or if you want to think 3-act, the middle 2 columns are Act 2. So what I did was I outlined this story. And this is actually the second draft. So I wrote it once. I sent it to my editor, and she said, half your story is missing. So I re-outlined it, and then I printed it out from Scrivener. So you can see that the colors on the index cards match the colors of the point of view characters. So same color coding. But you can print this straight from Scrivener, and then I just cut the paper so they look like index cards, and I rearranged them. Now what's interesting about this is that this process netted me 3 more scenes. 3 more scenes that I thought I had in there, and that once I put it on the corkboard like that, I realized we're missing. So this is really useful. And again, Scrivener makes this really easy if you want to have a arts and crafts day. All right, so now I'll go to the tutorial. So I'll close the slideshow, I'll open up Scrivener, I'll show you a couple projects of my own, and then we'll go through the whole thing. So I'm going to show you these 4 things. These 6 things, I guess. So first, I'll show you how to make a new Scrivener project and why the templates are useful. I'll also show you the 4 main pieces of the interface, the 4 names you need to know to make sense of what I'm saying. And then we'll go through each of the 4 ways that Scrivener can help you plan for NaNoWriMo. Sketches, research, outlines, and productivity. That would be the motivation. All right. OK, so first I'm going to show you some stories of my own in Scrivener so you guys can actually see. All right. So this is the source file. All right, so here are our settings. We can do awesome things like make them bigger or smaller. To insert an image in here like I have, you just drag an image into this area in the top right. You can also see in the manuscript over here, I guess it's a little bit off the screen, I'll just drag it over. Yeah, so this manuscript here, you can see the 20 chapters that I mentioned before. It's color-coded right up there. For each of these scenes, so the chapters are the folders, files are the scenes. For each scene, I have the text in the middle. I also have a synopsis over here. Now, if I were to view this on the corkboard, you'll see that the synopsis appears in the front of the card. So this is actually, this view is how I wrote the story, on cards like this first. And then we could just go down and see that there's one scene in this chapter, there's two in here, there's two in here, etc. And then we have the back matter of the book. So this is the about the author stuff, guide to the names, call to action, cover, front matter, all that stuff. So everything that's in your book, front matter, back matter, drafts, research, manuscripts, everything is in the binder somewhere. So this gives me a headache looking at, but I'm going to show you guys all of my early drafts. So there's a lot in here.
I don't see, you go up to the top again. I don't have that on my Scrivener, all that front matter stuff.
Right, you can add it. Some of it comes with the templates. So this is a good segue. Let's open up one of the templates. So that's a full novel. And actually, let me show you one more. The Scrivener Superpowers manuscript is structured a bit differently because it's a nonfiction book. So when we go in here, in this manuscript, you can see that the parts of the book, so it's a nonfiction book. So instead of having chapters, it has parts as the high-level structure. So we had an introduction, the interviews, the Mac tutorial, and very soon, the Windows tutorial. That's actually not published yet because we've been doing the formatting of the print book, but that'll be in there soon. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. And then if you go into, for instance, the Mac tutorial, you'll see all of the chapters that also have parts. And so what is a character sketch here? That's actually a subtitle within the main chapter. So this is the part 3. This is the chapter 3 in part 3. And these are the subtitles. What is a character sketch? How to use template sheets in Scrivener, how to visualize your characters using Scrivener's corkboard, etc. So we actually use the structure in Scrivener to build the manuscript later. So again, if you guys are planning a novel for NaNoWriMo, and it helps you to have this visual structure, it'd be a great exercise to go through the manuscript and create a folder for each chapter and a file for each scene. That way your whole book is structured. You haven't even written a word. And that's okay, because now you know where you're going. So I'm a big fan of using that structure to help you write. Yeah?
So out of what we're looking at, how much is ultimately going to reach the reader?
Yeah, so everything in the manuscript goes to the reader. I'll just open it back up real quick. So everything in the manuscript folder goes to the reader. So you can see like I had a to-do list. I have metadata here. I have a proposal for the book that I wrote. I have a workshop, the retreat talk, cut a bunch of stuff.
You could go back just a couple of clicks.
Which one?
You had a page where there was a big red box with some text in it.
A page where there was that was just an annotation.
Is that a note to yourself, or is that actually to the readers?
No, it's a note to yourself. So that you can find in, so this red outline here is called an annotation. So let's see if I can figure out where to, I never remember where these things are. Here we go, inline annotation. So this is basically when you're writing, you can insert an annotation. So this is really useful if you don't know the name of a character. So like, they were walking down the street and, I don't know, annotation, name of character. So that's in the red box. And then you just keep writing, right? So you know you've flagged it because it's red in the manuscript. You're never going to miss that. You flagged it, and then you can go back and fix it when you want. So like if you need a new setting on the fly, you need the key to hell, you need, like whatever you need, right? You don't have to make up the stuff on the fly. And I mean, I'm sure you guys will talk about this if you're doing NaNoWriMo, how it's important that you don't stop your momentum, right? So that annotation tool I use a lot when I don't know, but I don't want to break my flow, right? So I'll just put a placeholder, it's outlined in red, and I keep writing. And that way, I'll probably still get a couple more words. If I stop to think of what the name of the key to the gates of hell is, I'm never going to remember where I was, So that's really useful.
So if I can ask you another question, I want
No, it's okay.
I want to love this software. So, but you've been Word for a long time, right? So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, so the learning curve and so on.
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to get if I do this? And so I'm thinking, okay, so this is all very cool. I could do this in Word with the outline view.
Sure, you could.
And with comments.
You could.
Comment bullets.
Yep.
But this is better because
I like it better because the outline view doesn't show you all of the headers, right? And you can drag and drop in Word too through the outline view, but it's very cumbersome. Also, whenever I get over like 100 pages in Word, it just starts crashing randomly. It's just, this program is a lot more stable, and you can keep your research in one document right next to your manuscript, right? You can't do split screen in Word. You can't do full screen mode in Word. There's a lot of stuff that Word can't do. You can't do project targets, which we'll go over in a little bit, So why would you use this? To make drafting easy, right? Like, you don't have to leave Word. You don't have to maintain multiple files. So, you don't have to. I'm not going to force anybody into this program. And I know a lot of writers who still write in Microsoft Word. I hear George R.R. Martin still writes in like an MS-DOS machine. Like, whatever makes you happy, honestly, it doesn't make a difference to me.
As an example, I've been using Scrivener as an outlining and like character development tool.
Right.
But I've been writing in Pages for the last 4 years.
Sure, yeah.
So like I've been jumping back and forth, and so
Mhm.
I want to kind of play with using it for more this year. The other thing has worked fine. Like,
Yep.
It's not a problem. It's just words on a page.
Mhm.
But I want to try to utilize more of what's available.
Right, right. And that's the thing about Scrivener, is that there's so many features. You don't need to use all of it to get something really useful out of it. Like, if all you used was a bunch of like a single documents along the side and the word count or the project targets feature, in my mind, that's worth it. Because then I know, like, all right, I have to write 1,667 words today. Go. And then it'll tell me when I'm done. And that alone is really helpful. Do you have another question?
Yeah, I was just going to point out, like, to that question on the usefulness of Scrivener, what sold me was the binder and having all of the chapters and scenes, quick view of it, but that you can drag and drop them at will. So you can reorder your book at any moment in time at the scene level. And then, like, when I did Nano last year, I did a quasi outline. I'm going to do much more this time, but I had each chapter already kind of labeled, so I knew where I was going. And then as I wanted to add something, I could just add it or move it around when I realized that was stupid.
Right.
So
Yeah, the restructuring is a lot easier. Although you can drag and drop in Word's outline view, right? But I just find it so much easier in this one, especially on the scene level, right? Because let's say you write a chapter, let's say chapter 3, and there's 4 scenes in there. The outline view will let you drag the chapter around, but not the normal styled text, right? So what if you need to move scene 3 to the next chapter? Then you have to go in and copy, paste, delete, and it's very cumbersome. But again, like, if you're happy with it, do you, right? The important thing is that you get 50,000 words, not that you care what tool you're using, right? Okay, so I'm going to go out of there. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go through each of those things. So I'm going to start from scratch. In case you've never used Scrivener before, once you install it, you'll have this icon. And I know it works a little bit different on Windows than it does on Mac, but so I'm on a Mac right now. So if you have any Windows-specific questions, come ask me afterwards. But for the most part, the 2 pieces of software are like 95% the same. So first screen you get is called the project template screen. Since we're talking about NaNoWriMo, I'm going to stick with the novel template that comes with Scrivener. You'll see that I've added a couple more. There's the Lester Dent pulp paper master fiction plot outline, which Lester Dent was a pulp writer in the 1930s, and he wrote this amazing 6,000-word formula for writing short fiction. It's really fun. This is one I made for the Scrivener book, so that's my own template. But this is just the one that comes with Scrivener, so everybody will have this one. So we're going to start here. All right. And I'm going to put it on the desktop and name it New Story. Okay, so this is the novel template that comes with Scrivener. So you'll see we have the manuscript folder. We have characters and settings. We have the front matter, research, and template sheets. So again, we're writing a novel for NaNoWriMo, so we don't care about front matter. So I just deleted it. We don't need a sample output. I deleted it. It comes with the novel template comes with a character sketch and a setting sketch. So they look like this. You can customize them if you want. So the 4 things I mentioned, the first are character and setting sketches. If you use the novel template, you'll have character and setting sketches in there. And then all you have to do is start creating characters. So the first thing I would do is go into the template sheets folder and customize them, right? Personally, I don't like all of the ones that come with Scrivener. I actually think this is even, I might have even changed the, the core templates because I'm that OCD. But so I think Scrivener's default templates come with like weather and season. I don't find those that useful, so I delete them. Like customize them however you want.
I put my cursor on the characters, but it doesn't come out with characters' names and all of that. Is there something that?
What do you mean it doesn't have characters' names?
Just hit character. It's a blank page.
Look further down. There's under template sheets.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. So you're on here. I'm sorry. The binder is here. So you clicked on characters and there's nothing there, right?
No, it's places nothing's there.
Right. There's not supposed to be. It's an empty folder for you to create characters and for you to create settings.
Okay, go down.
So there's another folder called template sheets.
Template sheets, I have it.
Yep.
And
Expand it. Is there a triangle next to it?
it's really hard to
Okay, so it comes with default character and setting sketches. What I wanted to show you was, do you see this drag in an image file right there? So you can actually change this. This little known option here. So this is I want text on the front of the index card. And this option for the picture is I want an image on the front of the index card. So if I'm going to write about Byron Shelley, I can just drag that image straight into the character sketch.
How do you get that on the right side?
So that's just the inspector. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I skipped this part. So just so we're all on the same page, there's 4 main parts of the interface that I want you guys to know. So the top is called the toolbar. That's everything across the top. We've already talked about the binder. The binder is on the left-hand side. This thing on the right is called the inspector. This is like Scrivener's additional suite of tools. So you have the synopsis. You can turn the synopsis into a photo. You have document notes, label, status, etc. Again, if you guys have any questions about specifics on this side, come talk to me afterwards. I'd be happy to walk you through it. But for now, we're just going to charge ahead. So the reason I show you this is, and we don't necessarily need the image in our template sheet, but you can add an image if you want. So to create a new character sketch, you click and hold the Add button and select Character Sketch. Then you name him Bob Dylan, and he looks like Mary Shelley. So if I go to the characters and I make sure I'm in the corkboard view, which is this up here, I can see all of my characters with their photos. And then if I click into them, I can actually start typing whatever you want to write for the character sketch. Same thing with settings. So you would go in here and add a setting. You can also add it like this. Right-click, add, new from template, and then you get both options. Yes?
So is it in the drop-down, the add drop-down box because it's in the template folder?
Right. Yeah, so what I love about this is that if you come up with the other templates that you need, you can add them to the templates folder, right? So I like to use, Larry Brooks makes this 9-point plot outline, right? So this is a fun exercise. If we add, let's say, 9-point plot, or let's just do a 4-act plot, right? And I want a card for each act to be added as like a template. So I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then when you add something, you can actually add the whole thing as a structure, right? So you can add anything you want to the templates and customize it. It doesn't have to be just characters or settings, but any template. Maybe you have a blog post template for a certain column you're writing, right? Maybe you have a marketing checklist that you want to generate based on what you do for book launches, right? You can do anything in the templates. It's reusable content. Okay, any questions about the template sheets? Okay, moving on. So next is research. So you guys saw me drag images in. So I'm just going to open this research folder and show you how easy it is to add stuff. Drag all the way to the folder. So there's 2 images. I got this docx of Frankenstein. Let's see if that'll add. There we go. A whole Word doc that just converted by itself. I like this one too. Let's see. So this is the PowerPoint I was showing you guys earlier, so I'll throw that in there. Just slides. And the thing that I find very useful, keeping up with our Frankenstein theme, is if you open a web page and you see the lock icon there, sometimes it's an eye in a circle, you can actually drag this into Scrivener. So now there's Wikipedia handy for me. So what's interesting about this is that now we have all this research in here, right? So how do we use it when we're writing? Well, there's this handy button up here, top right of the editor, that looks like 2 rectangles stacked on top of each other. That means toggle the split screen. So you can find this in the menu up top too. But now if I want to put the research right by, let's say I'm writing about, whoops. The links do open in a browser. You don't have a whole internet in here. But let's say we're talking about Victor Frankenstein's narrative. Now we can write about it while we have it up.
Does it grab the whole page?
It does. Yep.
Could you do that again? Yeah, I didn't.
OK. So there's a button up here, top right. It says toggle split screen. So you click that to add the split screen. So now we have 2 screens. And then you just select which one you want. So in the top one, I want an empty scene. And then I click into the bottom one. And then I could open a setting sketch. So you click into the frame you want, and then you click into the binder to show whatever it is you want to look at. So I could click into the bottom, click over to the PowerPoint. Yeah?
When you're dragging and dropping in your research, can you do spreadsheets too?
I don't know. I don't know. Do you want to find out?
I do.
Let's see.
You're asking a writer to quickly find a spreadsheet on something.
Oh my, I don't know.
I outline everything in spreadsheets.
Yeah, that's another great way to outline. It's like storyboarding, right? Except you can add rows more easily.
Except you have to have a bunch of different documents going on.
Right. Yes, that's true.
Kind of painful. I would love for this all to work.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll show you a little bit about how I outline in Scrivener. It's not as versatile as a spreadsheet, right? Like spreadsheets have been developing for like the same program for 30 years. It's very robust, right? So Scrivener doesn't have quite that capability. But so I started submitting short stories recently. So I have this short story tracker. So let's see. Download. Okay. All right. So here's our Excel doc. Cross your fingers.
There you go.
Look at that. Everybody would.
It's not great, and I don't think you can edit it. It's just flat, you
I
know.
was saying that it imports similarly to the way that the keynote or the PowerPoint presentation is doing.
Right, yeah, it kind of flattens it. Yeah. Because the whole point of having your research in here is just to be able to look at it and reference it. I wouldn't try, like, if you're going to use spreadsheets, use Excel, right? Like, use the best spreadsheet program.
For story stats.
What's that? First Story Stats?
Yeah,
Is that a program?
no, I run stats on like how much page time are my male characters getting versus my female characters.
Right.
Things
Yep.
like that, because I'm curious about whether or not I have an internal bias.
Yeah, yep, totally. Okay, so research. Oh, the other part of research that I wrote earlier was practice scenes. So if you want to practice a scene, just open up a blank document and start typing. Okay, outlines. So how would I outline something in Scrivener? There are 2 ways. The first way is you can use the binder, and I'm kind of partial to this way. So let's say I know, based on my notes, that I'm going to have, 10 chapters. So I'll just start adding folders for chapters. and then title the scenes. I find that that is a very helpful exercise. So you can just add folders in here. The other way, and perhaps the easier way to outline is, and I'm going to create a new folder here called outline. So what I would do is I would make a brand new folder. I'd open up the corkboard, and sometimes you'll see like a fake corkboard background, but I have it set to gray. So if you're wondering why you're not seeing the corkboard, it's just I've changed the background. So I would just start adding cards. Chapter 1. Or some people like this is helpful too. If you don't really know what you're going to write, let's start high level. Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And Act 4 if you're going to use that variation of the 3-act structure. You can just click into the note cards and start typing. So this is the beginning, middle build 1. And you can see that this text shows up on top of the card here, but also here, right? And this is on purpose. You're writing the text so that it appears in both places. This is our ending, and this is middle build 2. So what you would do is you would start here. You'd start with making acts and write a description. And then when you're ready, break that down into chapters. And when you're ready, break that down into scenes. And this way you can see it in the binder. So you can see it along the left here. And you can see it in the middle. And once you have this on the scene level, so imagine that these 4 acts are scenes, and you're ready to start writing, what I would do is this. I would take all of your chapters, drag them into the manuscript, open up one, and you can see my synopsis on the right there. Same synopsis we wrote on top of the index card before. And now you can start writing. So you can do this as granularly as you want. If you're writing something like an epic fantasy that's going to be 150,000 words, breaking it down into acts is going to make it much more manageable. If you're writing a 50,000 word YA novel, you can probably do the chapters as individual text files, and you don't need that much division. I personally like to break it down into the scene level because scenes are the basic unit of storytelling, and that is really manageable to me. I know a scene is going to be 1,000, 2,000 words, maybe a little bit more, but no more. So I always try to break it down into the scene level. And for me, that's enough. Again, everybody has their own process.
How would you go between levels? Like, say, for example, you have a scene,
Yeah.
and then that scene turns into a whole chapter.
Yeah.
But it's already indented. How would you unindent it and make it? Can you do that?
Yeah, so you see how this scene 2 here, is inside that chapter? So if I want it to be outside the chapter, I just drag it. Let's say I want it at the top. I want it to start. You just drag it up there and put it at that level.
Into a chapter.
You would have to make a new folder and then put it in there. So this is the funny thing about Scrivener is it's kind of like however you want, right? So your chapters can be text files, or they can be folders with scene text files in them, right? I know authors who compile both ways. It doesn't really matter to Scrivener. Now, of course, their suggestion is to use the chapter levels as folders and the scene levels as files, with the files inside the folders. Now you might ask yourself, why do they do that? It's because when you actually end up compiling it to an ebook, it uses that structure, the folder scene structure, to build the table of contents, right? So it has to be structured that way for the table of contents to be built correctly according to their templates. Now that doesn't mean you can't change it, because there's another story I have in here that's just a short story. So it has like 6 scenes, and I figured, why use folders? It's a short story. It doesn't have chapters, right? So I didn't put chapter folders in it. I just put scenes in it. So you can see the manuscript here. There's a lot of junk here. You can see the manuscript, right? Each of these is a scene. And I put icons on them, but they're just text files. And then this is the back matter. There's no reason in a short story to have chapters, right? So you just take them out.
So sometimes when you write scenes, there's a scene break.
Yep.
Star on the, row of stars on
Right,
the
right.
something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's kind of a smoother transition where the
Right.
character gets on their bike and they ride somewhere and then introduce
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when you compile it, I mean, does Scrivener automatically think that if it's 2 separate scenes, it needs a little break in between?
Yeah, so if it's 2 different files, Scrivener will insert the break that you define in between them. So if you want a break, make a new file. If you don't want to break, just keep writing in the same file. But I would argue that that's actually one scene because you haven't broken it. Right? So scene breaks come at chapter ends or at a clear division. So this could be an empty line, or it could be 3 asterisks or whatever. And so when Scrivener compiles, it uses the structure and what you tell it to put between the chapters and between the scenes to build it, right? So anywhere you want to break, start a new file. So if you want 3 asterisks between this one and this one, this is perfect. It's already set up to do that. This is a little weird because we have our new outline in here, so it doesn't quite make sense, but it would be like this. So this would be 3 chapters with 1 scene each. Now this one has 2 scenes, and there's going to be 3 asterisks between them. And you can define in the compile screen whether you want it to be 3 asterisks or a line or dots or whatever. So
Can you explain the compile scene?
compile, we're not going to go over compile today. That is like, it's like jumping over a cliff. And you know, the thing is, we're here to talk about how to win NaNoWriMo. Once you win NaNoWriMo, we can talk about compile.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have to have a book to compile first, and honestly, like it's a 2-hour discussion. So
We're going to schedule that because I still can't figure out the compiler.
well, I would recommend that if anybody wants to know all of the important features and how to use compile, you should buy my book because it's all in there. It's on Amazon. It's called Scrivener Superpowers. You can find it on there. And it's a detailed how-to. It doesn't go over every single feature. Scrivener actually has a very boring to read manual right here. I think my book's a little bit more fun, but it doesn't have every single feature, right? So I go over the important ones, the ones that you need to know. All right. So research, outlines, storyboards. Does anybody have any questions about outlines? Yes.
Yeah, so you can take your outline cards and
Yep.
you can put them in each of the folders, right, and have them
Yeah.
right there as you are.
Yep. Yeah, so what I'll do, so the question was, what do we do with our outlines once we're done, is I'll like build the outline in a separate folder, and then like my first draft, so this is useful whether you're starting now or whether you already have a draft, right? So let's say you already have a draft and you outline a new draft. What I would do is I would drag this one out, right, and just put it down here somewhere, and then I would drag the other one in. So if you're starting fresh and the manuscript folder is empty, build the outline in another folder and then drag it in. Or you could just build the outline in the manuscript folder. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. OK, so the last thing, and this is my favorite part of Scrivener. We're all creatures of habit, right? And we like to build good habits. And this is a tool to help you build good habits. So in NaNoWriMo, you have to write 1,667 words a day. That's no joke. I don't know how fast you guys write, but that takes me a couple hours, at least. So if we are doing NaNoWriMo, our manuscript target, and I get to this just by clicking the Targets button up top, or you can go Project, hide or show project targets. So NaNoWriMo is 50,000 words, so I know that's our manuscript target. No wiggle room. Session target. So this is one of the places where Windows will have a few less features. Windows, for instance, doesn't have a deadline. And some of the stuff that it just doesn't have. It still has the daily word count tracker, which is what you need. So count documents included in compile group. That's fine. Target applies to compile group. So our deadline is going to be 11, 31, 20, 30. Thank you. The count's going to reset at midnight. You can change this. Don't count text anywhere written anywhere in the project. We only want to count text that goes into the manuscript, right? So again, like if you're doing NaNoWriMo and you take a day off to plan, to write a practice scene, to do a new character sketch, you're not adding words to the manuscript. So if you click this checkbox, you're cheating. But you can allow negatives if you want to kind of punish yourself for deleting stuff. And you can automatically calculate it from the draft deadline. So I love this. Again, I'm not sure if Windows can do it, but it's great. And because you only have 30 days, definitely allow writing on day of deadline. All right, and then make sure you show the notifications. This is where the carrots are, right?
How did you get to that?
So I'll just close it here. Once you open the project target screen, it's under the options button. So she's on Windows, so Windows is going to look a little bit different. So it's not going to have the exact same options, but that's where you find it, under options. So show target notifications. This means that once you hit whatever your daily target is, 1667, it'll just show a notification and it'll ding. Sounds nice. Let me make sure my volume's on. OK, so and then we want, so it's calculating, it's calculating from November 30th. So if you start now, you only have to write 641 words a day. But let's say, so let's see, the 14th, so 10, 15, is that going to give us 1562? Anyways, I am going to show you the notification, so I'm going to turn off the deadline real quick. So 1667, that would be your goal for Nano. Our goal right now is just to write 10 words. All right, and when you click over here and you have the project target screen open, it stays on top, so you can leave it up there while you write. I don't like to do that because it's distracting. But 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait. I see I wasn't in the compile group. I was in a document down here. So counting words, they don't count towards my deadline because it's not in the manuscript. So
So Matt, even though it has the including compile checked over there, it's not.
right.
It doesn't actually include it. It
No.
has to be in your manuscript.
Yep, it has to be in the manuscript folder. And this is a special folder. It's got special rules. OK, so 1, 2, you can see the bar going up. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh. Oh, did it show up there? Huh. Weird. It's not showing me.
Down at the bottom, you mean?
Well, the notification should come up, but it must be because I have this thing plugged in here. You just have to trust me. When you reach your session target, it will ding and a notification will come in across the top. I don't think it's doing it because I have this plugged into the second monitor. But as long as you have this show target notifications on, it'll count. So that's useful. You know when to stop. You can keep writing, of course, if you want. And any words you write over your count will be deducted automatically from the next day's goal. Right? So have daily goals, write every day. You kind of have to get 50,000 words in a month. There's one more way to determine the targets, and that is on a scene level. So there's also this little target button down here at the bottom, and it's tiny. But if you go down to the bottom of the editor, it looks like a target. It's a circle. And so I can set how many words I want this scene to be. Right? So you can do the math if you're an analytical mind like me. I would say, OK, I have 20 scenes, and there's 50,000 words. Or let's use easy math. I have 50 scenes, and there's 50,000 words. So every scene has to be 1,000 words, right? On average. You're not necessarily going to hit it because the scene is as long as it needs to be. But if you're writing 1,000-word scenes, or like James Patterson, 1,000-word chapters, this is a great way to do it. I know I have 50 scenes in this novel. I've plotted them out. I'm going to put 1,000 words on each one. And now as I type, the bar appears here. And that's nice too. So you don't have to have this screen open the whole time. Now, I'm going to drag these up out of the folders because the outliner doesn't show you folders all the time, just to make it simple for now. But there's one more way that we haven't gone over that you can view your manuscript, and that's with the outliner mode. So this mode shows you everything that you could possibly want. Now you can see here the total progress. So this will have a red bar, an orange bar, a green bar, depending how far you've got. We've also got the status and labels, and the total target. Now one that's missing, and if you right-click here, or you click this arrow to the right above the editor, you can get extra columns. So this is to add or remove columns from the outliner. So these ones are all fine with me, but I also want to show the target, and I'm going to show you why in a second. It's much easier to set the targets by scene in the outliner, because I can click right here in the target column and set them. All right. So now we know that these 4 scenes are going to net me about 4,000 words. And after that, it's just a numbers game.
How did you set that up?
So this is you see the third group mode button at the top? Yeah, so that one's called Outliner. And if you click that and you're on a folder, you'll get this. So you guys might have wondered how I got the color coding in my novel before. That's with the labels. So if you have a dual point of view, this is great. You can edit these labels and name them by your character, right? Like POV1, POV2, if you want to. No pressure. But it's very useful. And then the other thing that I like is that Scrivener has some options. So if you want to see these, if you go into the View menu, so here's where you would find the split screen option. So you can actually split horizontally or vertically. The other thing is that you can make edits to the use label color in. I like the icons one. The binder one is a little bit too much for me. All right, so now you see that these icons turned blue. That's nice. So that'll tell me my point of view. If I want this one to be POV2 and this one to be POV1, now I can see in the binder, if I'm in another scene, for instance, right, and I'm writing and I want to see what's over there, they're all color-coded. And you can, the binder one, like I said, I think it's a little bit too much, but the colors are brighter. So there's all sorts of stuff you can do there. And all right, I think that's pretty much it. Now, I will offer you guys, if you want me to demonstrate how to do anything pertaining to writing in Scrivener, again, I'm not going to go into compile because that'll just give you a headache, but anything about writing or outlining or planning that you want me to demonstrate, show you how to do?
So should we be writing in, as you pointed out to me before, should we be writing in the box next to the cork? View the document? Yeah. Should we, which mode should it be in?
You should be in this one right here. So the one on the left. That's what you use when you're typing.
It should
Right.
be the dark color.
Yep.
And that's what you should write in.
That's it. And this is why I don't like I could open the manuscript. So what her and I talked about earlier was group mode versus view mode. So Scrivener has this weird nuance, group mode and view mode, right? And it's hard to tell which one you're on. Now, if I click on a folder, it's going to give me group mode by default. If I click on a scene, now see the three buttons at the top, the one that's depressed? See how it has two documents on it? That's group mode. If I click on a scene, one document. View mode, right? So the difference is that view mode shows you a single document, and group mode shows you a group of documents. So I'm going to demonstrate this. We're going to add, so this is the untitled scene, and this one here is scene 3. And this one here is scene 4. If I want to see all of them together, I would go to the manuscript under group mode, and now you see all 4 scenes. Now you can see where the scenes end because of these weird L lines here, and yours are a little different. They're straight lines across. You can customize that in the preferences, but that allows you to see, for instance, a chapter full of 4 scenes, all together in a single chapter. Or if you just want to work on one scene, you just click on one scene. Now, since the focus of NaNoWriMo is writing the words, I would say write one scene at a time and don't overwhelm yourself with the other stuff, right? The best part about this is that you can click into a single scene, focus on that scene, and get the scene done without worrying about all the other stuff, right? And you can write them out of order. You can order them later. Like let's say I get bored one day. I'm like, I really don't want to write this mushy love scene. Okay. I'm going to go to the climax and write the action scene, right? So I'll just make a new file and just start typing. And it gives me like tunnel vision. So that's why I like it. When I'm writing, I only stay in the scene view. If I'm looking at a folder and doing formatting, I might want the group mode, and that's why it's there, I think, because you can't see a lot on a single screen. But yes, what I would suggest is just clicking into a single scene and typing. That should keep you on the level. Yes?
How do I make a PDF of a document like that?
A PDF of a document. You have to compile.
Written and all that's compiled.
Yeah. So what compile does is it takes the Scrivener file and it turns it into anything you want. PDF, Word doc, EPUB, etc. So that's how you would do it. So one back there.
Can you talk a little bit about metadata and how it's used?
Sure. So the question is, can you talk about metadata and how it's used? So metadata is information about other information, right? Labels are metadata, so that's one way to use it. The point of view, whether it's a chapter or a scene. The status is another piece of metadata that comes built into Scrivener. So you can set this on each scene. So let's go back to the outliner view because it's easier to see there. You can see the label and the POV. So you can imagine each column as a piece of metadata. The title is a piece of metadata. The label, the status, the number of words in it, they're all metadata. So we can change the status of the draft if you would like to say, like, OK, this one's done, first draft. And that is pretty much all I would focus on right now. Scrivener has advanced metadata settings. So if you were to go into the metadata settings, you can see custom metadata. Don't worry about this stuff, all right? Just pretend it's not there. Label and status are the important ones. And then, of course, the project properties. So I would name this the title of your book, title, your full name, etc. Yeah, that's as far as I would go with metadata, especially if you're just focusing on writing. Some people like to have other things that they know about their manuscript that don't go into the manuscript, right? So some people I know like to know that this scene is going from positive to negative, right? Or that this is a, what's the word? This is a plot point scene, right? This is a scene where I'm going from Act 1 into Act 2. That's also a piece of metadata. And if you want to track it, what I've seen people do is they'll write the synopsis of the scene here. So synopsis of the scene in the top right in the synopsis box. And then they'll just put stuff here. So like plus to minus. I know that my character is starting with a positive experience in this scene and ending with a negative experience. That keeps the values shifting throughout the story. So you could write that in here. You could write that this is a turning point scene, like other stuff. These document notes, this section right here, is really useful just to keep extra notes on what you're writing. Let's say maybe you think to yourself, oh, I should have added that back earlier. You can just pop over to the document notes, write a note to yourself. Or let's say you want to cut a paragraph, but you don't want to lose it. I just cut it and paste it in there, and then I've got it, right? And each scene has its own document notes. So you'll see that that stuff disappeared because I clicked into a different scene. But it's still there. So that's really useful if you want to store extra information about your story, but you don't want that information to be counted as counted to your word count. You first.
The other option for that is project notes. I assume that so one is
right.
like localized view versus the other is a globalized view.
Right, exactly. So project notes is for global. It's the whole project. I keep like my daily word count in there, or like meeting notes from my meetings with my editor or whatever. And then document notes, I like scene level stuff. But you do have both, and you can toggle it here.
Yeah.
But you can also open the project notes in its own pane. Right, so like I will actually like have a word count tracker here, and then I'll just do like 1/116. I wrote 1,000 words today. I wrote from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Right, and then I'll just use tabs and make like a whole word count tracker there, and it's on a project level, so it's not interfering with anything I'm doing, and it still helps me keep track of that stuff.
So does the tracker not track that?
So the targets are for an individual session. It doesn't have historical data. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. Like I was using spreadsheets for a while. There are apps that help you do this. There's one called 5,000 words per hour, and there's another one called Ink On. Yeah, I know, 5,000 words an hour, right? This guy's nuts. But there's another one called Ink On, I-N-K space O-N, and it's only for iOS right now, so only for your iPhone. But it's really cool. You can add different projects, and then you just start the timer. And then when you're done, you look at Scrivener's targets, and you say, like, I wrote this many. And then it'll keep track of how long you spent on the story and how many words you wrote. So yeah, Scrivener doesn't keep track of historical word count data. That would be a great feature if they wanted to add it. I hope you guys are listening. Yes?
If you back this up to something like Dropbox,
Sure, yeah.
is it saving all your note cards and your...
Yes. Everything in the binder is saved with the backup. And you can set the backups to go wherever you want. So they could go to Dropbox. They could go to your computer. Yeah. Always back up your work.
How do you back up? I can't even figure out how to save.
Yeah. That is a
Where's save button?
file save. File save is where the save button is. So if you go to your preferences, this is on a Mac, it's Scrivener preferences. And then there's a backup tab. So that's the last tab. By default, Scrivener has automated backup setup, right? So by default, you should be backing stuff up, and it should be keeping an extra copy for you. You can choose the folder where the backups go. So like you can see mine are in Dropbox, right? Dropbox in a backups folder that I have for Scrivener. So that's really useful too.
Where did you get that?
Oh, sorry. So Scrivener preferences. Yeah, so you're on Windows again. It's going to be in a different place. I think it's Tools Preferences or Tools Options or something like that. And then you have a very similar looking backups pane. Questions?
Does Scrivener have any tools for building timelines?
Does Scrivener have any tools for building timelines? No, unfortunately.
Eon Timeline.
Eon Timeline, however, exports to Scrivener. So there's this tool, I'll write it up here, Eon Timeline. Eon Timeline. So this tool they have a page on their website that tells you how to export to Scrivener. So you basically build a timeline in this software, and then it exports a flat version. So just like the Excel spreadsheet, right? It exports a flat version, and you can put that in Scrivener. For those of you who like Evernote, there's also a way to put all of your Evernote stuff in Scrivener. So Scrivener's it's like your writing workspace. It's the container for the everything. If you guys want to do stuff in other programs, you can import it to Scrivener later, and vice versa. You can take stuff from Scrivener and take it out. Yes?
So if you have two different versions of the same page, other than putting the one page in that document notes, is there any other way to do that?
Yes. So Scrivener, so in the inspector, there's this pane called snapshots. What that does is it captures a version of the draft, right? So we have, here, I'll click the plus button to capture. And then I can make changes. And then I can capture again. And you can see how it has both versions. And then you can actually roll back. So like, I don't like that change I just made. I want to go back to this one. So that's nice. What I use that for is after I write a draft, I'll send it to my editor, I'll get her feedback, and then I'll go through and I'll snapshot every scene. So I have it captured at that spot, and then I just write over top of it, knowing that the old draft is still in there. So you don't have to like copy, paste this file, let me version it, and if you've ever written a book, you know you're going to do that several times. So the snapshots keep it all in one place, and you're just writing in the same file. It's really useful. Yes?
Okay, so I've got a question and a request. The request is if you would show the compose screen, but the question I have is
Sure.
with the Scrivener for mobile for iOS, I don't know if you know this or not yet, but
I've used it.
okay. When I save it to Dropbox, it saves it as a compressed file on the zip file.
Nope.
It does for me. It does. I don't have.
Those are the backups. The zipped ones are the backups.
You just do a save as, it saves it as.
I would literally put the whole Scrivener file in a Stories folder in Dropbox, right? Because the zip files come.
Because it won't open on mobile if it's in a zip file.
Right, exactly. So just put the Scrivener file itself in whatever folder you designate as your sync folder for Dropbox, right? So Dropbox will tell you to pick a folder, right? Like I picked my 2016 folder. Don't recommend that because it took forever to sync. Pick a clean folder. Put the Scrivener file you're working on right now in that folder, and then just go to Dropbox and open it. So like open Dropbox, open it on Scrivener, and then let it sync. So the mobile app is a little weird because you actually have to press sync. It's not automated very well. It's not like, it's like if you have an iPhone and you put a reminder on there and you're using iCloud to sync it to somebody else's phone, and it's on there, but like they don't have it. It's like that, except there's a button to sync it for Scrivener, right? So what I have to do to make sure that it's matched is like, all right, save, close, done, close it. Wait till Dropbox syncs, okay, and then open it on my phone and press sync. Wait till it comes over, and then open it, because otherwise it won't. It just will lock up, or it'll say like, this version is different than the one we just saw in Dropbox, and it gets confusing.
The compose screen I thought would be helpful.
Yeah. So there's this lovely button called Compose that allows you to enter a full screen mode. And you can customize this. You can put a nice calming beach on the background, or it's semi-transparent right now. But this just eliminates distraction, and it only allows you to see whatever scene you're currently on. If you go to the bottom, this toolbar will pop up. Yeah, just kind of hover over the bottom, and then you can adjust the paper width. You can adjust the text size, where the paper is, and you can also open the inspector here. It's just a little different. The inspector, and then you can go to, you can jump. So you want to jump to the next scene, you can do that too.
Does it leave off any notifications from other programs?
I don't think so.
Pop up.
No, I think it'll still pop up.
Yeah, you still need the menu if you have
Oh, you mean like from other programs?
Yeah, I get like 4,000 Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Do not disturb is your best friend.
Right. Yep. There you go. So there's this wonderful app called Do Not Disturb that blocks notifications. Also, you can do it on a system level if you want to go up here and go to your notifications and turn on Do Not Disturb. There it is. Again, Mac stuff. I don't know how to do that on Windows, but I'm sure there's a way. And then to exit compose mode, you just press escape.
Why do I get lines?
That's just showing you where the scene ends, where the file ends and another file begins.
This starts at the very beginning of the novel.
Yeah, you're probably looking at a folder, and so it's showing you the lines between the files.
And that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah, it's just a different way to view it.
Could I get rid of them?
Yep, to get rid of them, click into a single scene.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay, anything else? Sure. Anything else? Yes. Mm-hmm.
I managed to get one like print out for me so I could do my thing.
Yeah.
It was incredibly difficult, and I use Windows, so I realized maybe this isn't a question you can answer, but
So you want to print out the corkboard?
the cards.
Yeah, totally. Why didn't they print out well?
I don't remember. It was a little bit back. It was like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got them to print out, but I don't think I can do it now because I've already got lots of writing.
Yeah.
Is that a problem? Like you can't print the cards once you've got writing on the.
Well, you can print them. Like if I went into this here, the corkboard, and so this is how I printed out that outline of the novel that I showed you, where it was like pins on a corkboard that I actually did that. I just went File, Print from here, Print Current Document, and I'll do it real quick so you can see how it shows up like index cards. So that's what it does, and it'll print out the index cards for you. The trick is that if you have too much text on top of the index card, it'll go onto multiple cards, and so you just have to stack them, which is kind of silly, right? But yeah, you just can't fit that much on the top of an index card, right? And really, that's when you're using index card, that's the challenge. Keep it to a single card, right? Right. Yeah, it's a lot of information to fit on index cards, but this is nice. The printing them out helps if you're planning. Anything else? Yes.
Just to say that I am terrified of the compile function, and I had to print out my novel for a workshop, and so I just copied and pasted it into a Word document.
You could do that too.
The getaway to do it, but it can be.
Yeah, it can be done for sure.
Yeah, I just went into each folder that had, or not the folder, but each file, copy, paste.
I've done it.
Yeah, okay.
You're not done.
Yes.
So I started with Scrivener when I was already, 2/3 of the way into a writing project, and so I uploaded with a little hashtag so that it would respect all the chapters and uploaded it that way.
Sure.
And then what it did was it randomly changed quotation marks to double quotation marks every 4 to 5 times. And
Weird.
things to quotation marks. And it wasn't consistent.
Yeah.
It was really annoying because I'm,
Yeah, these quirks, I mean, unfortunately, they're computers. Right. Yes. So what happens is Microsoft hides formatting that you can't see. It's like embedded HTML, and it's just screwing up your formatting. Now, what you can do is open the group. No, this is where group mode is useful, right? Open the manuscript in group mode so you can see all the files, and then go Format, Convert quotes to smart quotes, and this will make all of the dumb quotes smart. Yeah, you can also write, yes, multiple spaces to spaces, strip leading tabs. I always do this stuff before I compile because there's going to be extra line breaks, extra spaces, quotes that didn't get converted to smart quotes for whatever reason. So smart quotes are angled slightly. Regular quotes are just straight. So this helps, but it's not a foolproof system. Unfortunately, that's Microsoft Word being dumb. And actually, it's not just an issue converting to Scrivener. It's an issue uploading ebooks too, right? So if they're breaking to Scrivener, they're also going to break when you upload them to KDP. So you got to make sure that you strip those out. Yes?
I had the same issue and I uploaded it to a text document.
Mm-hmm.
Text document
Right. Yeah. So her trick, you copy the rich text file to a plain text file. It'll strip everything for you, and then you have to put it back and like redo the formatting, but then you know. Then you know there's no hidden formatting in there. Yes?
So if you're using, writing something in foreign language and you need
Foreign language.
you know,
Oh yeah, special characters. Those will come through. Yeah, you can use them. It was just like using Microsoft Words. Oh, yeah.
that's really what I'm asking.
Yeah, there is a place to put symbols.
Where? That's what I'm asking. Would it be under tools? Spelling?
So again, the Windows is going to be different, and I don't know.
Oh, translate to another. No, let's translate to another language.
Actually Googled it and it's
Oh, okay.
I can't see the
So they should be in here somewhere. Oh, here you go. Emojis and symbols.
Where are you?
Under edit. I can't see where he's.
So, oh, sorry. No, you can't see the top. So it's edit and then emojis and symbols. But again, your menus are going to be different. So
Yeah, 'cause I don't have emojis.
come talk to me afterwards, and I'll show you where it is on Windows.
Maps.
Yeah. So those things are on an operating system level, right? So they're not.
Got it.
All right, there you go. Perfect. I won't go into the technical explanation.
You know,
Oh,
I'll
God.
be able to follow you.
All right. Any other questions?
Nobody?
Yes?
Anyone who has taken a very large novel from Docs, Google Docs,
Mm.
to this?
Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah.
Just copy paste. It takes 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like 50 chapters in 30 minutes. You know, it doesn't take that long. There is an import function. So like you saw earlier with this Frankenstein, whoops, not this one. This right here. So this is just a Scrivener text document. I literally took the Word doc, dragged it in. So this is the Word doc right here. And it's a docx file. And I just dragged it into Scrivener and it converted. So you could try doing that with your Word files.
It just won't break it into the chapters.
Right, you're going to have to break the structure yourself, but at least that way it just converts. You don't have to copy paste. But honestly, like if all else fails, like Command A, Command V, select all,
Yeah.
paste,
Move it in.
move it in, and then deal with it later. And once you start breaking it down, it's going to be much more manageable, I think. Yes.
One more mundane question.
Sure.
I still can't figure out, even with your explanation, why when I started to write the novel, in the folder, I have a narrative. And then in the
Right.
chapter, right under it, it's the same narrative.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that question for you. I'd have to look at it.
Well, you deleted one and
I'll show you afterwards. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
When you create collections, can you talk about that? Like,
Oh, yeah.
what if
Yeah.
you also accidentally create a collection? How do you delete it?
So she's asking, collections are like, how do I say this? We haven't talked about this. So there's a way to view the binder, but only a narrow part of the binder, right? So a collection is a selection of things from the binder that you want to view together, right? So I can make a new collection called our new collection. and only put certain things in there. So to delete it, I think it's this minus button here. That would remove the documents from the collection. So collections are weird. It's basically saying if you have too much in your binder and you want to view just a little portion of it, like a small subset, you can add that subset to a new collection and then only see that in your binder, right? It just kind of takes away the stuff that you're not focusing on. But you have to add and remove things from it. And I think once you remove it, then we can probably just delete it. Yeah, I'll just delete it. I honestly, I don't even use the collections. I just use folders in the binder because the collections confuse me. Because you're not like making new files only in that collection. The new files exist in the binder, but you're adding them to the collection, right? You're narrowing the search, kind of, if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't find them very useful. Anything else? All right, so I'm just going to bring this back up so we can have it here. Oh no. Oops. All right. Okay, so that's it, guys. So if you want to check out the book, scrivenersuperpowers.com. I published it with these awesome guys called The Right Practice. And you can find the blog, Windows tutorials, Mac tutorials on the website. The other thing is visit indieauthorsociety.com for other meetups and videos and a forum and resource lists. We have over a dozen talks now, so if you guys are interested in self-publishing at all, I'd recommend it. And if you come talk to me afterwards, I will explain how to get there. So thank you guys for coming.